Hi there, I'm Ludwig Sevall, Solutions Architect here at DBT Labs, and today we're going to see what it's like to resolve a bug using agents and MCP servers, which you can think of as an API to enrich the context window of LLMs. And today we're going to look at the gross item sales amount here, which seems suspiciously low for the last few months. And we're going to do so by analyzing the latest run of the job that has been throwing warnings, and also check out some API documentation in Notion. After that, hopefully we're going to have enough information to resolve our error. So let's jump over to Cursor. All right, now in Cursor we have DBT Fusion installed with the LSP, which is going to enrich our context. And to the right I have a chat window. So I'm going to start by reading the GitHub issue. Paste in the URL. Hopefully what that's going to do is to trigger the GitHub MCP, which I have installed to pull the context of the issue. To get the same here. So I'm going to go ahead and analyze the job run mentioned in the issue. And ideally, that's going to call for another MCP, namely the DBT MCP, which in this case integrates with DBT platform and pulls out the latest run results. And hopefully we're going to get some info about what that warning could be. And it seems that we have some warning on an accepted values test for the return flag. And let's see what that could be. So it's this line items model over here. So an accepted values test for the return flag. It's this column over here where we're handling two different cases, but probably there's one more value in the source. So let's use this preview CT function to check what's going on in the source. And let's see. We can see here that there's some additional entries, namely the n value that is not handled over here. However, it's very hard to actually know what n stands for without more context. So let's see if we can bring in the company documentation. Read the API docs in the issue in Notion. We're using Notion here at DBT, but that could be any other documentation site your company has. And it's using my personal credentials to log in and get the information needed, where all the entries from the source are mentioned. Here we can see that in the docs it's mentioned that n stands for new. So now we know, and let's use that information to fix the issue. Let's fix the code and test and do a git workflow. And we can see here that it's lightning fast, so it's iterating locally, resolving any errors before even sending queries to the backend, coming up with a long plan, and I barely have time to keep up here. So already suggesting the fix in the SQL code, also modifying the return flag over here. Let's see if we do something else. So yeah, we're even going into YAML files, adding the new entry for the test of the staging model. We're even going into the documentation of the source to accommodate that change as well. So let's keep both those changes and let's see what we're doing. Yeah, we're doing some kind of root cause analysis here, I think. Yeah, so we're sending some queries to the backend using the show. So that's the MCP server that mirrors the CLI commands, and just checking that the new logic makes sense. Also proceeding to do some git workflow and switching to new branches and pushing to remote. So it says that it's ready for PR creation. Yeah, create the PR. What are we waiting for? All right, so once again, we call another MCP server, or the GitHub MCP again, but another function. And let's see if we're succeeding. Yeah, pull request created successfully. Nice. So let's have a look at the PR we just created and open up GitHub. And I don't know about the guys that are watching this clip, but hey, this is probably one of the absolutely most documented PRs I have ever seen. So really documenting all the findings, explaining the logic, doing a little bit of an impact assessment, analysis of how many orders would change, how it impacted the gross item sales amount, the documentation that we read, why we made the changes, the queries we ran, and of course, down here, we're seeing that we're triggering the DBT CI job, which provisions compute resources automatically and runs with so-called slim CI. So we're storing the state and test only the models we need to. We can see that the job has already finished, and we can click over here to get to the run summary of the CI job. Everything seems to have run successfully. We can even go in and see exactly which models we ran. And here I also want to point out that in the very near future, we're also going to go down to the column level and test only the models that actually use the columns that have changed. And that's it. And I really wish you luck in the future of agentic development.